Uh-oh, what happened? I have to go for a night out, but I have no one to watch my kid, Junior. Luckily, I have these 14 candidates. Now that's right, today we are back with another legendary tier list video, and today we will be ranking all 14 survivors from Risk of Rain 2. We will be ranking said survivors on how well I think they could babysit a baby and or toddler, aka Junior. The criteria for babysitting shall be this: looks, personality, attentiveness, cleanliness, bonding skills, social skills, and their cost. Now, let's dive right in and see who is a Mary Poppins and who is not fit to be anywhere near me and my child. Alright, so welcome here to the tier list. So let's start things off with the Acrid. Now, the Acrid is a maybe Lemurian dinosaur man thing test subject with poison or blight abilities. We know he's sentient mainly due to his logbook, so he definitely has the potential to take care of Junior. But does he meet the criteria? Now, of course, the Acrid is the most handsomest lizard I have ever seen. He boasts a clear-cut smile across his entire face and has a nice, cool, and relaxing purplish hue that I feel like would be calming for Junior to look at. He also has chains wrapped around either arm, which would be good to jiggle around like some car keys or something for the kid to play with. Now, he escaped the void, even if it was with the help of the player, which shows he has some level of attentiveness that I feel like would be useful when I ask him to tuck Junior in bed by 8:30. He may lack a bit of cleanliness, mainly due to his leakiness of poison from all over him, but I think he can relate to Junior as he also drools from his mouth quite often, just like Acrid. Now, he may have bonding and social issues due to his long-term presence being imprisoned, but I know that all he would cost me is a couple of bison steaks to feed him, which seems like a steal to me for me and the missus when we want to go for a night out. Now, with all that being said, I think I would not have too many issues contacting Mr. Acrid, so I'll go ahead and throw him into the A tier. Up next, we have the Artificer, where she is a high member of the secret religious society known as the High Court. She may know the true purpose for the UES safe travels and decides to simply withhold information from us. Her design is sleek and stylish, sporting the white, gold, and black look. She does levitate from off of the ground at all times, which could bring up a safety hazard for Junior if, you know, Junior decides to want a piggyback ride or something. And the flames from her jetpack could also cause an issue. Now, her attentiveness would be next level, as well as her cleanliness, as she wants to keep a pure body, mind, and soul at all times. She'd also be well-versed in her bonding and social skills, as her being higher up in a religious cult would force her to have those virtues, so she can influence others to join the cult as well. Now, her cost would also be somewhat minimal, in my opinion, as she would probably do it for free, more or less, at the cost of Junior being influenced or maybe even radicalized into the High Court and, you know, may join her in her search for heaven on a planet. With all that being said, you know, there's some drawbacks, but not really. Come on, I mean, what kid isn't radicalized by cult leaders and stuff like that? We're gonna go ahead and throw the Artificer into the S tier. Up next, we have the Bandit, where, you know, the Bandit has a personality pretty much typical of what you would describe as a bandit, where he's cunning, money-oriented, swift and sneaky, and always down for a drink. He would approach my doorstep probably with a gun in hand and ask me about the quote-unquote, the job. His frightening demeanor would be a little off-putting for my kid, and we want Junior to be as comfortable as possible when we are away. The Bandit would probably be well-versed in his attentiveness and would be able to do everything we asked to, probably to the exact minute detail. If Junior were to somewhat throw anything off, though, such as wanting to stay up past his bedtime, aka going 8:45 instead of 8:30, the Bandit might meet Junior with excessive force to go to sleep. The Bandit would also be exceptionally clean, though, as he would want no traces left behind once the job is complete, that kind of thing. If he were to bond with Junior, he would probably take my kid to, like, a local dive bar and jeopardize, you know, my kid's childhood innocence with the excessive drinking and foul-mouthing he would do while he's playing, like, space pool or something. Lastly, his financial demands would probably be extreme. like $4 on Yelp expensive and would probably put me back like 5 years on my retirement for one night of babysitting. He just has a ton of drawbacks that I do not see working out in mine nor Junior's favor. He's not F tier, but we'll put him one above that. We're going to go ahead and throw the bandit into the B tier. Moving along, we have the captain, where he is the commander of the UES Safe Travels, and he's basically an old man who came out of retirement for some fun and action. He comprises of a pretty cool, monotone attitude that might be relaxing for Junior. His tall, sleek figure, coupled with, you know, the captain's jacket and hat and all that, could probably contribute to Junior's childlike wonder. But again, just like the bandit, the captain would be extremely detail-oriented, maybe too much so. Cleanliness is a trait that should be shared among all commanding officers, as a clean workspace is a more effective workspace, so he has that running for him. He would probably be quiet around Junior, only speaking and expending energy when it's like absolutely necessary, and if he were to talk, such as like telling a bedtime story, it'd be a war story of his time from long ago, which would probably, you know, terrify Junior so much that Junior can't sleep. Now, for the cost, I find this interesting. I think it could go one of two ways, where the captain would either say that it's on the taxpayer's dollar and not charge me a cent, or he would charge me a governmental-sized price that would leave me in debt until I die, and then pass on said debt to Junior to pay off until Junior dies. Now, I would prefer to leave my child in the hands of the captain rather than the bandit, and therefore he will rank a little higher than the bandit and make it into the C tier. Up next, we have the Commando, who is a pretty much a go-to guy. Seems to be like a typical soldier, able to take on any and all monsters willingly in the events of Risk of Rain 2. He seems to be pretty easy to get to come babysit, even on a short-term notice, as long as I tell him something along the lines of it being his duty or obligation or something like that. He seems to be pretty easygoing and has a pretty easy appearance, as long as he doesn't draw his two weapons on Junior. Given his military background, I would expect him to be able to be attentive and watchful to Junior, but maybe not to the extent that Captain would be. He too probably has a great ability to maintain some sort of level of cleanliness, as he's probably mopping up the chow hall or mopping floors or doing something during boot camp. Would he tell war stories like the Captain? I don't think so, as the Commando's probably younger and therefore does not have that old guy that just doesn't care kind of attitude. I mean, at least not yet, I think. He could probably even read Junior some nice children's books and would probably do so enthusiastically in comparison to the Captain. He may not be able to bond with Junior as well as some of the other survivors, but I feel like he'd at least try, even though he might make things kind of awkward. Lastly, his cost would be similar to the Captain's, where it's either entirely free or he tells his superiors, who charge me a fortune for asking him to babysit in the first place. He seems better suited to babysit more so than the Captain, and therefore I'm going to put the Commando a tier above him and place him into the B tier. Up next, we have the Engineer, who is clearly one of the more intelligent beings of the survivors, where the Engineer seems to be also a little bit more morbid, at least from his lore, as he's questioning the cybernetic enhancements that humans keep wanting more and more of. What if I decide Junior wants to have cybernetic legs so he can skip the crawling stage? Then what, Engineer? I think the Engineer would not look at me kindly for that. Now, he can definitely pull one of the super cool robot from the future kind of looks, which could leave Junior awestruck and amazed. Out of all the candidates, he would be the best, I think, in terms of attentiveness. So much that it may be overwhelming to me when I leave instructions, as he would, like, text me or ask me continually for more details. He may be so hyper-focused on the details that he doesn't realize what a mess he's making while babysitting, so his cleanliness may be a little bit less than that of the Commander or the Captain. As is typical with an Engineer, the Engineer himself will more than likely be lacking in social and bonding skills, probably, and would probably be unable to strike up a good conversation with a child, and might simply just like sit there in silence until I arrive back home. The bill he would hand me would be itemized and would be charging me an hourly rate that is probably rounded up to the nearest sig fig. If he charges the same prices as some engineering firms, my wallet would be quite a bit lighter after the babysitting event. For these reasons, I see Engineer as someone I'd place further down the list in my qualified babysitting candidates, and therefore I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to throw the engineer into the B team. Now we're going to place the only playable character that is not selectable from the character selection screen, the heretic. Now we immediately have an issue arise as she appears to be a vulture-like creature with huge sword-like appendages where her arms should be. So that's a negative, a pretty big negative. Now, like, what if Junior wants uppies? Junior is going to have a short life if the heretic is the babysitter, either from the sword arms or the pretty terrifying appearance. Her personality seems to be a one-tracked mind, as she was trying to escape the planet in Risk of Rain 2, and that was her one and only goal. Now, given the opportunity, she'd probably just run away from Junior as soon as she is left alone with my kid. Attentiveness, again, she is goal-oriented, but her only goal is to simply escape. Cleanliness, probably non-existent, at least for human standards. She would be ripping apart my house trying to escape. She wouldn't even attempt to bond with Junior. Her cost, she probably would do it for free as long as I do not keep like a watchful gaze on her and give her a list of security camera locations and note if there are any guards and if there's any means of transportation to far off places nearby. For these reasons, I just don't feel safe enough to leave Junior alone with the bladed bird lady, and therefore the heretic is going to be placed all the way at the bottom into the F tier. Up next, we find another hired gun, but this time she has the morality of that similar to the bandit. It is the Huntress. The Huntress is a calm, cool, and collected person who is a well-known jewel thief from the city in which she likes to commit her crimes. She has a look similar to that of the Commando, so she's, you know, semi-decent looking. She's sporting a nice reddish hue throughout her outfit and a nice big bow to go along with it. Now, I feel that her personality would be that she would be able to put on, like, a front that convinces me she is more than capable of taking care of Junior. She knows all the babysitting tactics, and we'll have Junior wanting the Huntress coming to babysit again the very next day. The attentiveness is what she's known for, as she's obviously committed a bunch of crimes without getting caught, at least until the end of the lore, and is probably quite tidy too due to it, so she probably has pretty well cleanliness. Would she bond with Junior before she riles through all my expensive stuff? Probably. Junior would probably like hear lots of interesting stories about how she got away with stuff, but she would do things like, you know, make up locations and make up her name and stuff like that. Now, what would it cost me? Just the average babysitting fee, obviously, along with all items worth anything at all in my house, garage, and even at my local bank account. Now, with all that being said, besides losing everything of value to me, my Junior would probably have a lot of fun with her and would love having her. So overall, I'm going to go ahead and place the Huntress into the B tier. Now we have the Loader, a person with a exoskeleton that is capable of meeting Goku-level lifting capabilities. She has the exoskeleton giving her the amazing robotic look that would, like the engineer, impress Junior to the fullest extent. I have a feeling the Loader would be one of those people who looks quite favorably towards kids and has the ability to entertain and impress Junior at pretty much any activity the Loader wants to do. She seems to love her job, which means she's probably good at it. She performs all sorts of different tasks throughout her day-to-day activities, so she'd be perfect for this kind of like odd job, at least in her eyes, you know, doing babysitting. She would be thorough, she'd be clean, and she would do anything while Junior just simply observes her and claps and joyfully laughs at her. Now, the Loader would easily bond, showing off the cool grapples or literally lifting up my minivan I got when Junior was born with ease, so Junior bonds with her extremely well. I also have a feeling that she would initially charge me like some sort of exorbitant price, but then drop it after she has as much fun with Junior as Junior had with her. The only issue that I could see is that she could somehow reduce the power behind the exoskeleton and perform more subtle tasks, but I think she could just like simply get out of the suit if anything. Therefore, I believe the Loader deserves the highest tier of S tier, as she is more than capable of watching Junior and having fun while doing it. Now, here's the wild card of the Risk of Rain 2 Survivor babysitting community. We have Multi, a robot who is sentient and capable of learning due to some fellows named Rico and Hiroshi messing with it. The robot was then sent to Petrichor 5 for something like a construction project, and instead went on a killing spree, killing all monsters that come across its path. Now that seems like a big no-no for my kid to be near, but again, Multi is sentient, maybe there's something there. Now Multi would be cool to look at while it's all like bundled up, but maybe a little bit intimidating once it opens up. I do not know if Multi is capable of babysitting. Like on one side, it is sentient and therefore maybe easily taught to babysit. And on the other hand, killing spree. So all matters of criteria for like attentiveness, cleanliness, cost, they're just thrown out the window for Multi. Anything could happen. Now, I'm going to go ahead and throw Multi into the D tier. I'm going to give it a little bit, just a little bit of the benefit of the doubt by not putting it just automatically in the F tier, but it seems to be a big risk for my little junior. Now, if you think of any typical assassin ever where they're sleek, coordinated, versatile, you could think of what the mercenary is like. He probably has the same financially guided mindset that the bandit and huntress have, but he also probably has a code that he follows by in comparison to those two. So as long as I provide him with the agreed upon amount, I think he would complete any job that's asked of him. Now he, once again, has a similar look to him as the commando, instead sporting a sweet katana and the Bushido-like armor. He's cool and sleek, just like the style Junior likes. As mentioned before, the mercenary would probably do everything correctly, so he gets full marks and stuff like attentiveness and cleanliness. But would he bond with a kid he's babysitting? Would he be somewhat kind-hearted, or would he simply tell the kid that doing anything outside of the list I give him is unnecessary? I'm going to go ahead and give him the benefit of the doubt for the sake of this rank and say he would be at least somewhat nice to my kid. The cost is where I am most concerned for the mercenary, where we would have like some agreed upon initial price that would probably be extravagant. And if I do not pay him in full, then I may be the guy that meets the end of his blade. But as long as I meet his price and pay him in full, I think he'd be an excellent babysitter. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to throw him into the A tier. Now we have Rex, the cabbage-carrying legend. Does Rex care for anything besides protecting the cabbage? Not particularly. Would he care for my junior in my time of babysitting need? Not particularly. So, I mean, does much more of this need to be said? Rex's one prime motive, and that is to protect the cabbage at all costs. Now, what if Junior wanted to, like, pluck a leaf off of Rex? Therefore, Rex is going to be an automatic qualifier for the F tier. Maybe if Junior was a cabbage or something, Rex would move up all the way to S tier material, but otherwise, sorry, Rex fans. Next up, we have someone in terms of lore who's like shrouded in mystery. I feel like we have the Railgunner. Now, we can infer that she too is another hired gun for the UES Safe Travels, and that's really it. She seems to be someone who's playful and yet serious from her lore of quote-unquote snipes aren't real. This could be okay for Junior. Would I let her bring in her big honking firearm into my domicile to use as protection for my kid? That's a tough question to answer. Would she bring it in anyways? Probably. She has kind of a shrouded mystery thing going with her appearance, especially with the hood over her head. Would she pay any attention and care for my child with every fiber of her being? I doubt it. I think she'd be entranced more about her like marksmanship than anything else, meaning she would do things like clean her big old sniper rifle over like heating up the lasagna I made in the fridge for the both of them. She just wouldn't have her priorities set. She would probably talk to my kid a good amount, maybe explain what she is doing when she cleans her rifle to Junior. Maybe some light bonding can occur from that, but otherwise, eh. Would she be expensive? I doubt it, at least in comparison to other survivors. I think she would be the cost of the average survivor on this list, which may or may not be a good thing. I'm not too sure. Now, with all that being said, I think she's not a great babysitter, and I don't think she's a bad babysitter, so I'm going to go ahead and throw her with the captain into the C tier. Lastly, we have what is presumably a corrupted commando whose mind has been destroyed by being in the void for an extended amount of time. We have the good old Void Fiend, who has experienced a family, at least through illusions, gone through his testing. So he might at least have a seance of what to do when it comes to Junior. But he also has that, like, I will kill you or something else if not carefully watched look about him, making him an obvious candidate for, you guessed it, F tier. Now, what would he do when left alone with Junior? Would he ramble about something that yet means nothing? Would, like, Junior decide to try calling me for the first time and tell me to pick Junior up even though they are at my house? Would the Void Fiend rapidly descend further into madness even though I think he's already, like, reached his low point a long time ago? I think the answer is yes for all of those. So Void Fiend, meet F tier. And there it is. There is the Risk of Rain 2 Survivor Babysitting tier list in its entirety. I think it's pretty solid. Obviously, no screw-ups whatsoever. Never done a screw-up in my entire YouTube career. Duh. So, if you did enjoy this tier list, as with the other lists on my channel, I'm going to say the stereotypical saying of make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, with another tier list. Adios.